In this lecture, we shall be applying CSS style to the books page. But before we go ahead to style the book page, I want to quickly add one or two more styles to our shared_style.css file. So the styles that I want to have, one would be for the paragraph. So what I want to do is to justify the text of the paragraph. So we're going to say text aligned should be justified. And then I also want to create one more style rule here to give a default color to every section that I have in the web page. So give a background color here, set this to EEE, or we can just make it 6. So let's do a reload. Alright, so we can see now that we have a default style that is applying to every section. But what I want to do is to give this other section where we have the early life and great awakening a different color. So to do that, we can come over to our custom.css and then we define a CSS rule here to target a specific element. So we can come back to index.html and say which element do we want to target. So we actually want to target this section, so we can give this section a class. So we can say class, maybe content, and then inside of custom, we can then say content should have a style with background color white. Right, so this is one way that you actually target some specific element when you have a generic CSS style like we have here. Okay, so we want to actually target this class content, but in order for this to be effective, we need to come to index and then include the CSS file here. So we can just duplicate this and then change this to custom. Okay, so let's do a refresh. Right, so we can see now that these other sections have a different color. Alright, so one more thing that we want to do for the index page is to actually move this H2 element up a little bit so that it will be aligned with the image that we have here. So to do that, we just need to go back to our text editor and then look at the HTML. You can see here we have the hero, and then we have role, and then we have the H2. So we can actually use this to target it in our custom CSS. So come here and say, so we want to target hero, and then we want to target role, and then the H2 elements, we just want to set the margin top to be 0. So margin top 0. And right now, if we reload the page, the H2 should be aligned with the image. Alright, so that's all we're going to do here for now. Let's go over now to begin editing the book page. So obviously the very first thing that we need to include in the book page will actually be the style. So come here, we want to include the shared style. So this is CSS project. Alright, so we're going to be making some changes here, but one of the things that we repeat is actually the footer. So let's just grab the footer. Or another way would be to just save the index page as the book page, which will be a bit faster, but then we'll lose the text that I have here because I haven't copied them elsewhere. Okay, so let's just move everything elsewhere first. I'm going to just paste it here. Okay, so we can now save the index as books.html, right? So we override the existing one, so we can have most of the component already here. So this will be works of Jonathan Edward. Okay, so we are going to just remove this first because we don't want to apply that style here. Okay, so we're going to leave the navigation, right? So we're going to make this 12 columns and then just delete the image. So what we actually have here will be the H2. So we can grab it from right here. So this will be the H2. And then we're going to have some few paragraphs. Just grab the text and paste here. And then I'll just copy the other paragraph and the unordered list and then also paste it here. So the last thing that we currently have on this page will be the link to read more. Okay, so we're going to just quickly put the link there. Alright, so let's try to do a reload on the books page. So we still need to get rid of these ones. So this section, we're just going to get rid of it. Alright, so when we do a reload now, you can see the page coming out nicely, but then you can also notice that there's still one issue with this. The issue is that you can now see that the session is actually taking the color that we specified, and this other part of the page is just white. So what we can do is to actually just make everything have the same color, or we just change it to white. So depend on your own preference, but I'm going to just make everything white. And then probably we need to increase the text for the paragraph, maybe just a little bit. All right, so let's get back to the CSS. So we're going to create another CSS file here. Going to call this books.css. Then going to delete this. Going to just change this to container. Then let the background color be EEEE. Okay, once we do a reload now. Okay, so nothing happened, and this is because we did not include book.css in this page. So come here and say books.css. So if we actually do a reload now, so everything will have the same color. So what we now need to do is to actually just increase the font size for the paragraph and then add a couple of images down here. Right, we'll come over to our shade style. So for the paragraph, so let's say we want to set the font size to be 17 pixels. Let's do a reload. Okay, so this is slightly bigger. Okay, so one more thing need to do here, set the height of the image to be auto. All right, so we're going to add a couple of images here. Let's go over to the HTML again. So what we can do here is to create another role. So we can say dev class role, just trying to keep it simple. So inside of this role, we are basically just going to have 3 columns. So dev class column. On a large screen, this is going to be 3. On a medium screen, this is going to be 4. And as usual, on a small screen, it's going to be 100%. So we actually need 2 more of this because I have 3 images. Okay, so inside of each of these, we are going to include the images that I have right here. Okay, so inside of my images folder, this one is charity, alternate text be equal to charity and eat fruit. Okay, so that's the first one. So the next one, this is going to be images / praying, and then the alternate text should be equal to praying. All right, so you can actually download these images from Wiki. I got them from Wikipedia. Okay, so I have charity, praying, and sinners. Okay, so that will be the last one. IMGSRC should be images / sinners. And then the alternate text should be sinners. In the hands of an angry God. Right, so those are the 3 images that I want to use for the books page. So they are actually images of books written by Jonathan Edwards when he was still alive. So let's reload this page. So we have the 3 images here. So what we can do is to actually apply a bit of style. If you want to make all the images aligned to be the same height and the same width on different devices, then we need to actually use CSS to do it. So let's go over to our text editor again, books.css, and then here I'm just going to target images, then set the height to be equal to 400 because I already know the height of the images that I have here. Okay, for small screen I want to make the height to be 100%, so we can just use media query. So at medium only screen, and the maximum device width 768 pixels. All right, so once this condition is satisfied, we want to make the height of anything that's an image to be auto. and then we want to make the width 100%. All right, so as you can see on a large screen, the height will be 400, and then on a small screen, the height will be auto, and then the width will be 100%. So we can still do the same thing for the tablet. So at media, so this will be only screen, and the minimum device width should be 768 like we did previously. So minimum device width 768 pixels, and then another condition should be and the maximum device width should be maximum device width 1024 pixels. Right, so with this we can get a tablet. So on tablet, say we want to set the height. Let's start with 350. So if we see the way it is, then we'll come back again and adjust it. All right, so let's view this on the responsive screen. Okay, so you can see on a small screen, it's 100%, the height is auto. So let's move this to responsive. Then this is actually a medium screen, because here you can see that the width is 920 and the height is 925. So the image are actually aligning. So let me make it 1300, which in our case will be a large screen. Okay, so you can see the images right here. Make it 100%. Right, so you can see that the images are actually aligning on a responsive screen. Okay, so right now we have the books page nicely set up. We have the home page nicely set up. Our next step now will be to style the contact page. This is what we're going to be doing in the next lesson.